Hi, everyone. It's Mitch from PickDogs.com and SportsChatPlace.com. It is Wednesday, the 12th of August. Tomorrow, a light card, but today, jam-packed with wall-to-wall action. We started early. White Sox covering the run line. I gave it out as just to people with long-term packages. I didn't sell it as an early thing or anything like that. If you had a long-term subscription with me, threw the run line in there, plus 135 as a bonus. So we start the day with just a little bit extra to spend. Of course, we've got the Pacers here working against the Rockets as well. And of course, with us, we have Joe D'Amico, one of the best handicappers in the world. He has been around the block and back. And I'll tell you what, here's a guy that knows not just, sports, he knows the sports handicapping business. And there is a difference between knowing sports and knowing sports handicapping, because one is rah, rah, my team won. The number two is rah, rah, I'm buying a Bentley. Joe, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Mitch, I'm honored to be here with you. I'm very honored to be a part of the Pick Dogs family. I can't thank you enough to bring me on, welcome me in. We've been friends a long time. We get along really, really well, but I'm really just excited to be a part of the Pick Dogs family and to be here with you today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, and I know our audience, the more they get to know you, they're going to like you as much as I do. And it's like, Joe's one of those guys that it's kind of like, if I ever won an award or something, Joe's the guy who wanted to introduce me for it, because he always introduces me to people like, this guy is like the greatest. And it's like,
I write a couple of columns throughout the country that I know that you know about. I'm really proud of, and I've got a big following, not just as a sports bettor, not just as a sports handicapper or as a radio show host. I've got a big following now as a columnist. And to be honest with you, I know we're going to talk sports. I've got an entertainment column that has exploded nationally. I write an entertainment column here in Vegas, and it just exploded. And it just, to find people that are welcoming me in all parts of entertainment and sports is just wonderful.
Well, we're happy to have you, and we're ready to give out some last-minute picks. One thing that everyone knows about me is I do my videos. I do tons of videos, more than anybody else on YouTube. I do live shows. Most of those are in the morning, but one thing that people, we talk about in the Facebook group, talk about all day, is that things change, throughout the day. It's like, and right now in the NBA, where it's the last couple of games of the season, we saw it yesterday where lines moved 8 points, craziness. And we're seeing it in Major League Baseball too. Pitching changes, all kinds of things. And it's just, these teams are trying to make the most of what they have. And, so Joe, in this baseball strategy, sure, I've been struggling in baseball. Okay. I'm always honest with my audience. Everyone knows, it's like NBA, I'm stuffing them, right? I'm clobbering them. And it's like, because I love the NBA. I just think I think that Adam Silver is the greatest commissioner in the history of sports. But I love the NBA. I love the product. I love the game. I love the excitement. I just think that the athletes are just tremendous. And what they've done to that sport is just, it's amazing. But baseball, I struggle with, because I think that, for me, even as a sports fan, I don't think the players are in it like they are in some of the other sports. It's always money. It's always like, oh, you owe me $5, it's sure, like, right? But in this year's baseball is a little different than normal baseball, because you're like me, okay? You need the numbers and you need to dig through. And it's like, I'm not just going to sit here and say, sometimes in the morning when I'm giving out picks, I don't even give a pick on the game. I let the other guys do it, because I can't just say something, to say it. We have a limited amount of data to work with, but it counts as almost 3 times as much data, and it's making these games extremely tough. We're seeing quick hooks on pitchers. We're seeing, relievers have to be in there for at least 3 batters. They're getting hit and they have to stay in there. How do we do this, Joe? Do we just sit here and stay the course and let them knock us around, or when do we get to turn this around on the books?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm a multi-time baseball handicapping champion. I got more top 5 finishes than the Yankees have World Series rings. I want to tell you, though, in any season, the beginning of any season, you have to deal with different difficulties. Obviously, pitchers who switch leagues, who aren't familiar with those batters, you've got to deal with, obviously, guys that don't come in game shape, holdouts. You've got to come in with quite a few different things. This year, because of the COVID-19 situation, we're dealing with, and even before that happened, They did have the rule about pitchers have to come in and pitch to 3 batters. That changes a lot of things, takes the science out of the game. Good managers, and there are quite a few good managers that could win or lose a game for a team, and we've seen that quite a lot over the years. Pitchers that have to pitch to 3 batters changes things. But right now with COVID, we've got late. We don't even know sometimes who's pitching until late, which also we don't know what the lines are going to be. We have inflated lines. Obviously, you're going to have big lines on your favorites. You're going to have big lines on the Yankees.
Your competitor can click on your ads and.
You're going to have big lines on the Astros, big lines on the Cubs.
That was me, but that was my bad.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. That's it. Listen to me. I'm so loud I didn't even notice. But you have these big lines, and you've got to move quickly on them. Plus, I think a big thing, the postponements. All right, granted, if a game is postponed, you have no action on it. But, however, what we got to deal with now, which I think is going to make things very difficult, is the amount of doubleheaders we're going to have, and that they're only going to be 7 innings. Changes the way we look at things. I'm a guy that looks at pitchers, starting pitchers, middle and closers. I really do look at them. I put a lot of stock in them, and I'm looking at games very differently. I mean, normally, over the last few years, we've seen inflated prices, Mitch and viewers. We've seen inflated prices. When I first started betting baseball 30 plus years ago, if a line would go up above $1.80, bookmakers, not that we knew any bookmakers would automatically go to a run line. Now you see games $2.50, $3, $3.50. We've seen $4 favorites already this season in this short season. I think that the COVID-19 has made things a little more difficult. We have to do our due diligence. Remember, listeners, less is more. You can bet more on one game that you feel strongly about rather than betting 7 or 8 or 10 games. Listen, to the other handicappers in the world or guys that are on the site that like to give out a lot of games, if they're winning, more power to them. I think less is more. I would rather have one game that I bet a ton more on and win or lose it because I'm 24 hours away from getting my money back. Listen, guys, I'd rather have one wife that looks like Heidi Klum than 100 that look like Rosie O'Donnell. So to me, less is more. Just do your due diligence. If you can't get information on a game, there's no law says you have to play it. I personally, Mitch, listeners, I passed today. I really wasn't in love with anything, but there are some games that have caught my eye. When you were ready to talk, we'll talk. But there's no law in saying you have to bet every single game every day. Take a step back. Less is more. Going 0-2, you're 24 hours away from being back in the plus column. As opposed to going 1-6, it'll take a few days to get back in the plus column.
I'm with you on that, and I think what we see is a lot of not handicappers, but the general public. They see something like the Dodgers, they see something like the Yankees, and they don't even look at the minus 350 on these teams and realize that you have to win. If you lose this game, you have to win 4 times.
Just to get even.
You cannot make money that way. You have to take your shots and swing for the fences, and that's pretty much how we've gotten it done. What do you see on today's card? You said you took a pass, but if you happen to Joe lives in Vegas, if you happen to be going to the gas station, you maybe passed the sports book and, you had a couple dimes in your pocket. Like, is there anything out here that maybe there's some meat left on the bone out here? Because I had the White Sox early. I have a few other premium picks here. I have the Pacers in the game right now against the Rockets. I have 2 other NBAs out there, but my NBA package, since the first game is gone, it's no longer for sale. My MLB, I think you could still get it, but there's other guys that have packages out there. We got a whole bunch of other great cappers. Joe, personal friends with I think every one of them. I think. Sure. Especially the old school guys. And he knows the young guys. He knows the old school guys. But
listen, to all the viewers and listeners out there, just because I look like I'm 22, I've been around the block doing this. Jeez Louise, I just turned 51, Mitch. I started when I was in 3rd grade, when I was 10 years old with football sheets in the schoolyard. So I cover a lot of ground over the years, and I know a lot of the young guys. They're very, very good. I like a lot of the old guys. We've got some. Now, I'm not saying Mitch is old, but Mitch and I are considered old timers these days. But there's always room for new guys. There's always room for old guys in this. And anybody that thinks that they can't learn from somebody else in this business shouldn't be in the business.
Yeah, I think that I think the young guys, keep me on my toes. But I think at the same time, there comes stretches where we kind of, show them how it's done, the old school style. And I think that's what it's all about. I have some young guys on the show with me in the morning, and, they'll go through some runs. But usually it'll come time to pay the piper where they'll be like, oh, I really like this. And I'll just say, let's back up the truck in the other direction.
Sure. I mean, I always look not just in the juice sports like baseball, where we're laying juice, but also in the line sports like basketball and football. Always look for value. If you're not getting value out of it as a bettor, then stay away from it. Listen, on any given day, you got about a dozen baseball games to choose from. You got, listen, we won't even get into college football or college sports right now, but let's do, NFL comes. You've got a dozen games on Sunday. You got your Monday game, you got a Thursday game. You'll always have games to bet. So if there's something that doesn't offer you value, odds are, as a fan or as a bettor that you want to bet smart, you will find something. So always stay and side with something that brings you value, guys.
Speaking of value, I'm looking at this Nationals game against the Mets, okay? We got Anibal Sanchez on the mound here against Robert Gesellman, who he's really a long reliever kind of that they throw in, and he makes occasional starts. The Nationals have really beaten up on the Mets in most of these games. Last night, they got him 2-1. So if you played the run, these are the same thing, the same guys that they got to play the run line, right, on every single favorite. They can't just, take their ridiculously low price on Max Scherzer, right, last night. I mean, and you can't just take it in cash. You got to play the run line, so it's like they end up losing from taking a winner, turning it into a loser. We have Sanchez, who was kind of the comeback player of the year last year in my book, up against Gesellman. To me, I didn't give this out as a premium play, and I haven't talked about it. I didn't talk about it this morning on the show. I know the guys were talking about it, but I kind of might find a couple extra bucks in my golf bag to throw on the Nationals here. I don't know. You with me or are you against me on this?
One thing I will agree with you. One thing that I obviously Washington's 6-7 right now. They're not tearing up the charts. But one thing I want people to look at, they have won their last few games, and they are 4-0 on the road. And listeners, I want you to know, like every other sport, college or pro football, college or pro basketball, you got to look at away and home. Traditionally, I know Mitch is from Chicago. The Cubs are not a very good road team traditionally. They are winning on the road this year, which is the difference with them right now. Yes, they're 7-1 at home, 4-2 on the road. But Washington is 4-0 on the road. If they have an issue right now, it is at home where they're 2-7. And if I would have had to bet this game, I would take. I think you're getting plus 105 or in that neighborhood. I would have to side with Mitch and the Washington Nationals here.
Yeah, it's, this is not one of my premium plays. I'm just looking at the card here, throwing out some things. It's kind of like, that's the idea of this show. This is a new show. Today's our number one, and it's like, we're gonna try, like we do everything here. We don't like sit around, plan, and say, this is what we're going to do, and then stick to it. What we're going to do is we're going to do this show. Joe and I, we're going to just show up, okay? We're not going to go away. We're going to just keep showing up. And then all of a sudden, we'll have other people show up with us, right? Because we have friends. People do like us. It's an acquired taste. But it's like we have friends. And, and the thing is that, we're going to put you guys on winners like we always do, and we're just going to watch the show grow and see whatever it becomes from there. So we don't have like a set idea or plan or thing. We're just going to show up and do this show and kind of like what I do with everything else. And we'll let the other guys plan out these roadmaps or something. And then when, it comes time to pivot because our audience wants something else that, it's not how we do things. But, I'm looking at Blake Snell here tonight at Fenway Park, and I do have the Rays tonight. But the thing is I'm a little skittish here that he's only minus 161. He had the, which, anything over to me 150 is to the higher range of odds for me. But, when I see Snell at minus 160 and he had basically a no-hitter going against the Yankees last time out, and that's when the Yankees were red hot, when this happened. Now he's in Fenway Park against a Boston team that's just bad, right? 6-11. They're horrible. And Zach Godley, meanwhile, he's only minus 161. Red flag, or is this a opportunity?
I know you said that you about $1.50 is where you go higher range. I try to not go above $1.40. That doesn't mean I never go above $1.40, Mitch and viewers. I would have to side with Tampa Bay. Boston is just ice cold. They're not playing anything. They're not doing anything. Tampa is a team that is a streaky team. Even through the last few years, guys. Look at their streaks. They win 4, 5, 6 in a row. They drop 4, 5, 6 in a row. Right now, they're on the upswing. They've won 4 in a row. They're not the greatest road team, but they are on a hot streak. They've won 4 games in a row. And let's face it, it's not like Boston is beating anyone right now. If I have to side on this game, I see here in Vegas, Mitch. I do see different lines. I see anywhere from $1.50, $1.55, up to about $1.57, 58, 59. I would, and this is where I want to also let our viewers and listeners know. Always shop a number. If you have the luxury of shopping a number, shop a number.
Yeah, if you live in a state in the United States with legal sports betting, you can go on our website. We have a tab. It says odds, and you just click on that, and it will show you the odds from all of the sports books that are licensed to do business in your state, all right next to each other, so you can see them. If you're looking at our free site, either one, Pick Dogs or Sports Chat, right above where we have our writer's free pick in the article, we have a banner that I personally created with our friends at MetaBet, and that banner, and I didn't design computer programming or anything like that on that. That would be a nightmare. But I want everyone to see, instead of having to go and shop the lines and look, this is the best number you have on this. If you want to bet this team, this is the best number you have on this team. This is the best number for the over. This is the best number for the under. This is the best number for the run line. This is the best number for the run line on this team. And just, it kind of cuts it down to it so you can quickly do it, because sometimes, right, we get the information at that last minute, And I think that's sort of the idea of this show, is that we see, and that's what the overall theme of the show is going to be. It's not the last second, but kind of like we have all the data that we have. It's not like our morning show where we kind of, we've had time to do our homework and we kind of brush up. But here it's like, this is the LeBron James is playing 6 minutes tonight show. That's this show, and I really like the idea. It's just our first time doing it, and we appreciate we got almost 100 people watching us across our channels.
Welcome, guys. Thank you.
Which is not, it's not our 500 we have in the morning, but we didn't even really make much of an announcement that we were going to do this. So I'm excited that everyone that tuned in, and of course, we would love to. Of course, Joe's wearing his shades inside, and he's welcome to wear. At least he's wearing clothes. It's like that's the bonus.
From the waist down, you don't even know. I'll throw 6 to 5 against me wearing anything below the waist.
I'm good. I'm good.
Just like, I want our viewers to know, just like Mitch, who we are two of the hardest working people in this entire business, and we've conquered many different facets of the business and always succeeded. But just like Mitch, we work hard, we play hard. If you notice, Mitch and I are probably the only two guys in this business that have suntans. He's always surfing. I'm always over by the pool. I mean, you don't see the house. I got a huge house in Vegas, palm trees, pool. I'm sitting in a man cave with $500,000 worth of sports memorabilia. I was by the pool already today because I finished my work early. I wrote a column. I'm having a good time. I already put steaks on the grill. My wife has got margaritas already chilling right after this broadcast. Buddy, it's party time. It's a good time. And then once again, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I get my pitching report delivered right to my front door. They bring it to the security gate. They bring it to my front door. And I start looking at pitches again so I can do my due diligence and make sure I continue to win for my listeners. But, Mitch, we like to also have a good time. I mean, you've got the tan. I've got the tan. Mitch surfs. I'm always outside doing something. I've got a boxing regiment. I mean, Mitch, when he comes to town, I have to take Viagra just to keep up with Mitch because he's always on the go, man. He's a go-getter, guys. But I want to say, on a serious note, as it goes with baseball, always look for value once again. Try not to go above $1.40, $1.50. Look at run lines. It's very important. I mean, it's not just where you can find a solid line. When you're dealing in football, so to speak, because it's such a popular sport, around the 3s, the 6s, the 7s, where you're always looking to get the better of a line. It's also in a juiced sport like baseball. And trust me, you will see the dividends pay off, not on your winning side when you're doing your due diligence and trying to get a better line and shopping it around, but on the few losses that you're going to have. It pays a lot. No matter if you're betting a few bucks a game, $100 a game, a few thousand a game, you do your due diligence. Shop a number around. It is the most important thing because you don't realize how important and how much dollars and cents it puts back into your pocket.
We got a game starting in just 2 minutes. The Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Toronto Raptors. The Sixers 5.5-point dogs in this one. Tons to play for here when you look at the standings. Sure. The Raptors a lot less to play for, but the Raptors, this is a team that likes to win. They're 9-1 in their last 10, while the Sixers, they haven't looked inspired since Dr.
No.
J and Moses, part of the Red Sea. It's like I haven't seen this. I mean, and they like made a big deal about Allen Iverson not wanting to practice, missing one practice. It's like these guys. I mean, they go through the motions on the court on a nightly basis.
It's an interesting game, and you know what? You did say Toronto. This is something, as we switch to the NBA, our viewers to understand. Just like the last few weeks of an NFL season, I look to see what teams are looking to better their seed or get home field advantage or home court advantage, so to speak, and what teams have nothing to play for. So Mitch just mentioned Philly does have a lot more to play for. One thing I want our viewers to realize, though, Mitch, you mentioned Toronto likes to win. They also may be facing Philadelphia down the road in the playoffs. Maybe want to send a message here. And this team at 5.5, they've won the last few in a row. If I had to play this game, I would have to lean Toronto just because they, like Mitch, great point. They do like to win, but they have to set a tone, and they've got to prove a point here to Philly, because they may be playing them down the road that, hey, guys, we're the team to beat right now.
I think we saw with Toronto earlier this season when Kyle Lowry was out at the beginning of the season, they were still winning games. This is a team kind of like the Clippers where they're missing a guy, but they still seem to put the pieces together. And it's like very, very, very tough to go against the Raptors in this spot. Ben Simmons gone for the season. Embiid, he plays limited minutes, and it's
Sure.
like they want him healthy for the playoffs, and he's gonna play limited minutes, and he pretty much is the team. They have some other guys that are gamers. I'm not gonna say that all the Sixers, are sitting there eating popcorn, and they eat Cheetos also.
Well, they got some ballers. They got some guys that can play.
I mean, but it's like I just don't think that they hang here with the Raptors. I'm gonna take the Raptors there. We got the Heat against the Thunder, also in the NBA, coming up at 8:00 Eastern time. I think, to me, this is the best game of the day as far as from a competitive standpoint. This is just a tough one to call. But the Thunder, it looks like someone significant out, because this is one of those line movers, -3.5 to +4, 7.5 points, just 7.5 point swing in 5
Just a
hours.
7.5 point swing.
Nothing. It's like, I mean, and the funny thing is that, so I get this all the time on our morning show, and people will be like, hey, Deshaun Watson's out, for the Texans. It's like, it's in the line. It's like, it's like they have some kind of, like the line doesn't move if LeBron James isn't playing, it's like they take that into account. Joe knows. So Joe, this is a question that I'd love to have you on the morning show to do this, and we'll talk about this a lot, as we go on. So the guys who make the lines, okay,
Sure.
Your friends, right? The guys who make the lines, right?
Sure.
You're the guys right, who make the lines. How good are these guys? And do you think they missed, like they didn't see on ESPN that LeBron James wasn't playing?
I would tell you this: very few things are missed by these lines makers. We see it every day and every weekend in football too. That how many games are decided around the number, a few points around the number, or on the number, or by a hook. I mean, that's where you really, and people don't realize about I don't want to say bookmakers. I'm old school. I say bookmakers. Sports books. They don't care who wins and loses as long as they move their line. Mitch, I had a dear friend who was called the most unconnected connected guy in Vegas. He was the biggest bookmaker in the continental U.S., the biggest, what we call Shylock in the continental U.S., a guy named Jasper Special, big bookmaker. Matter of fact, the guy in the movie Casino, that the Joe Pesci character was not based on him, was based on somebody else. But the restaurant they used was actually this guy Jasper's restaurant, that Leaning Tower of Pizza, which is across from the Aladdin. Jasper was the biggest bookmaker in the country for many, many years. And I was friends with Jasper. I first moved here. I was like 21 years old. We hung out in the same circles and whatnot, had a lot of the same friends. And Jasper said to me, I used to ask him questions. He said, Joey, it's in the number. What do I care what it is, as long as I move it and take the same amount on the other side? Mitch, what you just said is one of the most astute things in all of sports betting, what people don't get. It's in the number. And I don't think that the lines makers miss too many things, I'll be honest with you. Obviously, sometimes you and I can look at a game and we know that we're going to win by 3 touchdowns, or we win by 3 touchdowns, or win a basketball game by 6 points, or a baseball game by 6 runs. Or sometimes we look at it and we've got it reversed, but there's a lot less of the games that we call significantly wrongly than we do significantly correct. I think that the odds makers know exactly what they're doing. I think they're very, very sharp. And please understand, back in the old days, there was really one place and one guy and a couple guys around him, underlings, that would make a line, and then they put it out, and it go to the Stardust and the Riv and this, and the next thing you know, the lines start moving up and down and up and down. I understood. And be honest with you, just on a side note, Mitch, I remember the days when the lines used to come out, and bookmakers across the country would have runners inside the books. They would call in the lines right away, and they say, oh, go hit this, go hit this, go hit this. And that's where the lines would fluctuate throughout the country. Now, so many people have lines out there. You know, you have local, you have across the country, and because legalized sports betting, and you have offshore, that the lines are really kind of they've kind of evened out a lot. You don't see a line open up here and open up here in two different places. You usually see a line basically around the same number, around 5 or 10 cents in baseball. You don't see too many variables unless one place gets hit right away, I understand, or a line in basketball be more than a point or so off from another joint. So I think they're very sharp. I think I think a lot of places are afraid to make a mistake now too, so they do their due diligence.
Yeah, you know, we got a few games starting in just a couple minutes. Let's see if you like anything here. If you don't, that's fine too. We got the Reds and the Royals and the Marlins and the Blue Jays. One starts in 2 minutes, the Marlins, Blue Jays, and then we got the Reds, Royals in about 5 minutes. Anything
Tough
on either
games,
of these?
I'll be honest with you. You know, those are some of the ugliest teams.
Both these
right
games went to extra innings last night. And both of them were just, you know, late inning, you know, heroics and all that kind of stuff. And the team with the late inning heroics lost both games. So,
yeah. None of those teams are really world beaters right now. It's kind of tough for me. You know, I think that Cincinnati isn't playing. I think you said Cincinnati and KC. I mean, I just I just looked at KC because I had somebody from Kansas City sent me an email asking what I think about the Kansas City Royals chances. I said, well, this is a team that only 5 years ago won the World Series, and now they're 300-1 to repeat. And they're not, let's face it, at 7-11, nobody's picking them to do anything, let alone win the Central. I think it's a tough game, Cincinnati, KC. The one thing, you know, that I will say about this is Cincinnati is at home. They don't have the greatest home record. They don't have the greatest overall record, but they have to make a push now in the Central, and they're talking about the NL Central. If I had to bet this game, I'm not in love with it. If I had to bet this game, I take the home team. I'm really not in love with this. And just, I got to be honest with you, I make so much money going against Kansas City because they're the Royals that they're kind of ingrained in my head and my heart. Not in love with the game. I think there are better games on the board, but if I twisted my arm, I go Cincy.
Yeah, I have a few pitchers out there that are like that. I just see their name. It's like I can't even control myself. You know, it's like the game's rained out. I want to bet it anyway. It's
Absolutely.
like, you know, that's like how I get with some of these things. So, you know, I think that this whole sports betting, the whole line making, the line movement, all of these things are going to be ongoing themes on the show and stuff. You know, that I've been talking about for a long time on all of my shows. But it's nice having Joe, who kind of is a little closer to the action than I am even on a lot of these things. And I think, like, you know, he also knows the other guys. Okay, so there's not just the guys who are making the lines. Now there's the guys that move the lines. And these are the guys, when you see 31% of the public on a team and the line is moving, you know, and the line, you know, the team with 70% of the bets being made, the line is dropping, right? It's going the opposite direction because somebody might know something.
Well, you know, there are certain guys that we call out here in town that wise guys are sharp bettors. I'm glad that I'm considered one of those guys. When I walk into a casino, when I bet a game, I will see it move significantly, whether it be baseball, basketball, football. There are guys I know here in town that, you know, do they know something? I think they know where I think they could figure out where the general public is going to move. Fan favorite teams, baseball, basketball, football, where the general public's going to bet, and they anticipate that, and then they start betting against it. And as the general public starts moving, they may hit it again. So you could get a good middle on a basketball or a football game. You could get you know, all they got to do is have a guy that is known as a sharp to walk in, put it, not even a huge bet. I'm not even talking a 6-figure bet, but a somewhat of a low 5-figure bet on a baseball team, move the line a lot. They may let the general public think they're on something. They'll bang it. Then they might hit the other side for heavy money. You never know what they're up to. But I will tell you, I do know a lot of these guys, and they eat pretty well. None of them are skinny. and they do.
It's
They're
weird.
good at
It's
what they
true,
do.
right? All the guys who I know who are like the big, the big sharp betters, right? The guys, the line movers, and there's one guy who does the hockey, right? Who's like, he's the guy, right? I mean, right? We all know the guy, right? He's the guy who's like, he moves those hockey lines. None of these are small guys. I don't know why that is. It's like that is
There is one bunch that they move around from sportsbook to sportsbook. They've been doing it for years. I know them. I know them for 20 years. There's about 30 guys. There's about 5 big shots, about 25 hanger-ons, but even the hanger-ons bet good money. They don't leave the casino for months at a time. When I tell you months, they won't. If I go, my wife and I, we do 150, 200 shows a year. I might say, oh, I went to see Lady Gaga, Tony Bennett. I run into them. Tony Bennett's playing in town. They won't even know Tony Bennett's in town. They don't go outside whatever casino that they're betting in the race of the sportsbook every single day. They won't leave. They eat there. They can get anything they want in any place in town. They do not leave the book for months at a time. They're pale. It'll be 115 degrees outside. They're pale. They're pasty. There are some guys in town that reap the rewards of Vegas, and there are some guys that they never leave the casino. But then again, that's why I love Vegas, and that's why I love this business.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And, we got the Yankees and the Braves here. We got Tanaka and Yanoa. Last night, the Yankees jump out to a big lead. The Braves come roaring back. They didn't catch them. But you think any of that momentum carries over here? Because it was minus 200 on Tanaka, which is insane. Then you got minus 170. This Yankees team is 11-6. They're a damn good team, but this Braves team is 11-8, and they've taken some of these 9 runs, giving up 9 runs in a game, come back the next night and have looked very, very good. It's a young team. So both these are young teams. These are 2 teams that can be playing, games like this for a very long time.
Very, very good teams. As a matter of fact, I like Atlanta in the East. I think they're a very good team. I'm always a Yankee. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm born and raised New York. You probably didn't know that, viewers, huh? Probably couldn't guess that. But and it's not with my heart. But I would tell you this: the Yankees started out the season, I believe, 9-2. Don't quote me. Then they lost 3 or 4. I think 4 of the next 5, I believe. Don't quote me. And then they won again last night. They got off the schneid. I think it's important. I think that once they get rolling again, they're going to be very, very tough to beat. Please understand, Chapman's coming back. They sat Judge for a day or 2. Then he comes back. He belts at least 1 home run that I know about last night. Once the Yankees start hitting, once they get traction, once they hit the ground and get traction, start running, they're going to be very unstoppable. I mean, we're looking at other teams in the American League that are noteworthy, and I believe Minnesota Twins are really a phenomenal team in the Central. We're looking at a team that everybody that came out played a little strong in the Houston Astros. They're 7-10 with Oakland flying to the forefront. They're a very good team, Oakland. If I played this game, there's no way I go Atlanta, only because the Yankees got off the schneid. I said, this to me then would be a run line game where I take the Yankees minus your 1.5, maybe probably about $1.15, $1.20. Once the Yankees they got off the schneid yesterday. This is my head and not my heart, viewers. That they're going to start hitting the ball. Listen, this is one of the most dangerous lineups in baseball. They got good pitching, they got good closing, and they know how good they are. And to be honest with you, in this shortened season, there is not a lot of room for error. If Houston doesn't get off their butts and start winning games, they're going to be in trouble. This is not a 162-game regular season. We're playing 60 games, so there's no room for error. So the team's got to come out and win and keep winning. I think the Yankees keep winning. If I play this game tonight, I take Yankees run line.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Astros-Giants game, too, and Zach Greinke on the hill, minus 192-ish, 208-ish, in that range, in that unbettable range for me, right? It's got to be, I'd have to go run line if I was going on the Astros. And Trevor Cahill, he's been around the block. I mean, he's got a job, so it's like he's obviously still has some talent, maybe something left in the tank. Obviously not what he was, 10 years ago. But, we've seen him around. He's been hit a little bit more in recent years than what we saw in the past as well. But, once in a while he comes up with a big outing. The Astros have not looked like the same team that we saw the last few years. Couple things going on here. Number one, they don't know what pitches are coming, right? Number two, you lose your number 1 starter. Sure. You lose your number 2 starter in Garrett Cole, right? You lose Verlander. You lose now Garrett Cole. Everybody else has to move up that rotation. So your number 3 is against their number 1. Your number 2 is against their, it's like your number 4 is up against their number 2. Your number 5 is up against their number 3. And then the last 2, which are the guys that kind of make the difference, that kind of get you those extra wins that push you over the top. Those guys are guys that shouldn't even be in the major leagues at this point, right? So
you'll be bagging groceries. So no, I agree with you. This is a tough game. I'll be honest with you. I still think Houston is still a solid team. I just think that the controversy in the offseason, I think this affected them losing their top 2 pitchers, as Mitch just said. But I don't think right now, even against the San Francisco Giants, who's no world beater, they are good enough to lay these $2 until they start winning. And Mitch said Trevor Cahill comes up with gains from here to time. If I can get plus $1.80 on this game, I might have to take San Francisco here.
We have some interesting comments coming through here, and outside of the hairless ones, yes, Joe and I both. That's right.
Here we go.
The best handicappers never trust the handicapper with the full head of hair. That's what I say.
No, never. Absolutely.
He's never sweated out. He's never sweated out a card. It's like, believe me, I pulled my own hair out. It's I watched Michael Lorenzen the other day on Sunday. I had the Reds, and I watched him walk batter after batter after batter. I'm telling you, if I had any hair to pull out, it would have been gone.
I'm lucky to have eyebrows at this point.
So we have people here talking about betting the money line. Okay. In this NBA game. Okay, we got 6 points to work with. I mean, you're like minus 250 for that. It's like I could see if you're a fan of this team and I just can't bet against them type thing, and maybe like just to have a little something on them. But to me, it's like the way I've always looked at it, it's like if you don't want to lay the 5.5, then take the 5.5 with the other team and get the full payout, because the more juice you're paying to the book, the harder it is to do it. The harder it is to win over the long term. You bet minus 400. The only big money line like that I've ever recommended that anybody ever bet was Floyd Mayweather Jr. against Conor McGregor. I thought that was as easy money. The only way that we weren't going to cash, right? The only way we weren't going to cash was if it was a setup, right? Which in that sport, who knows? But
you never know.
You never know. But I don't think Floyd was ready to take a dive even for that kind of money that he would have gotten on a rematch. He has too much pride. He's too much of a professional for that. All the monkey business aside, the guy is a straight. When he's in the ring, he's he's a heck of a fighter.
30 years. I know him. He was my next door neighbor for a few years.
And he is around town in Vegas, right? He's like, he's part of the community. And, he does a lot, for all the things that he says, that are just, sometimes they don't even make any sense to me. He does a lot of things that don't get recognized, helping people. And, it is what it is. But, we're not really here to talk about that. I'm just saying that's one situation where I could recommend this is probably a pretty easy winner, against Conor McGregor. Yeah, but minus 250 on a basketball game on a Wednesday night, with the Sixers and the Raptors, it's like you got a full card of other games. You got a few hockey games out there. These hockey games are tight, right? Every game is, overtime right now or one goal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to me, for minus 250, there's just other bets I would rather make. I'm more likely to bet on a 75-1 pony than I am that minus 250,
Absolutely. You're getting those right now in Saratoga, by the way. But I will tell you this, Mitch, and to the nice person who was talking about the money line in this game. If I couldn't bet them minus the 5.5, I wouldn't bet them minus the 250. I'll tell you why. To me, it doesn't offer me value. If this line was right around that 1.5 to a 2, I wouldn't go above even a 2.5 point. If it was 2.5 points, to me, there's no value. I could see if I thought it was even closer. You're not getting value on it. You got to lay 2.5 to 1. God forbid you drop this game. You now on a Wednesday night on a basketball game that really isn't going to make or break you. Now you need three net winners to get back in the plus column because of this one loser. I don't think it's worth it on the money line. I could see where the lines are 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, right around there. No higher in basketball. No higher. I would not do it. I don't care if it was the Lakers of the 80s or the Bulls of the 90s. I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it.
The only time that I even think about a money line favorite The only time, like I'm a moneyline dog guy, but the only time I ever think about moneyline favorites is in a football game where it's 2.5 or something. Like, you know, some kind of like, you know, if it's 2.5 and maybe a -120, you know, it's like, yeah, there's some value there, you know, because you're actually buying points on the cheap, you know, and something like that. But it's like
where you look not to get, you know, where you don't just win by 1 or a late field goal get you to win by the 2 when you're laying 2.5. I get it. No, that I agree with you on that. To me, in basketball, it's too much. It's too much because every basket is 2 points. You know, in football, it's a little bit differently. I would advise against it. But I will tell you this: if that viewer really wants to do it, tread lightly. Tread lightly if you have to.
You know, when it comes to point spreads in basketball, and, you know, I mean, everyone complained about Rudy Gobert touching the mic and, you know, the whole positive COVID test. You know, for me, you know, it all happened a few weeks earlier. Number one, he bricked 2 free throws, right? Or missed a layup right at the thing. And then in the last second of the game, inexplicably dunks the ball when they're, you know, up by 8, laying 9 to cover the spread on that one. It was like, it was gruesome. You know, he got me twice in like, you know, it was amazing. But that's the way it works sometimes. How about on the ice, Joe? I'm not much of a hockey guy. I'm originally, you know, from Florida, and we just weren't hockey people. I know Vegas, this is it's turned into a hockey town. It's really cool to see. I was there, you know, when they made their run, you know, a couple of years back. And of course, this team has just never had a bad season, which makes it even more fun. You know, and I could only imagine what it's going to be like with the Raiders in town. And, you know, every week, you're going to have to deal with people from opposing teams who come into town who don't go to Vegas all that often, which, you know, it's might not be the best weekends on the Strip or anywhere remotely close. But, you know, that's what you signed up for in Vegas, you know, for being there. And, you know, Joe takes it in stride more than most. You know, some people are just, you know, they can't handle it at all. But Joe, you know, he takes it in stride. He knows that, you know, most of the people in this town, like where I live, you know, most of the people there are not people that live there. And, you know, but we have the NHL. You know, I'm not a big NHL guy. We have some, you know, Canadian guys that are on our morning show, the Puck Dogs. We have, you know, these games have been tight. You know, we have 2 games today that still haven't gone. There's 5 NHL today. The Bruins over the Hurricane 4-3 in double overtime. So in the same stadium, we had 5 overtimes last night, followed by 2 overtimes this morning. They could just do 24 hours of hockey at this place, the way at this rate, and they'd cover 3 games. You know, it's like that's like what would happen. And then the Islanders at +115 against the Capitals. I know Rod Zawacki in the morning shows loves to call them a bunch of bums, and certainly they looked like a bunch of bums here against the Islanders. But we got Philadelphia and Montreal. And, you know, Joe's about in that same age bracket that I am. He's a little younger than I am. And, you know, that's comes with the territory. But, you know, if you aren't, then, you know, then you're old. You're officially old. But Montreal and Philadelphia here, we've seen Montreal come into the playoffs lower seeded than this, you know, with worse positioning than this and win the whole thing. And I was talking about this morning. And, you know, I don't know much about hockey, but, you know, the Flyers not a city that wins a lot of championships, you know. So I think the winner of this series, you know, goes to the Stanley Cup final. You know, I really think they have a shot to go all the way because these are 2 teams that have that kind of chance.
I'd be honest with you. I'm not like you. I'm like you, not the biggest hockey guy, only because my fortes have only been baseball, basketball, football. I stick with what I'm great at. And you're right. As far as the Vegas Golden Knights, they came along when the city went through a horrific tragedy. I'm talking about the October 1st tragedy, and they were winning. So I will give them the full credit for bringing the city together because they were winning, and it brought a city that was pretty lethargic out here, and you never seen Vegas lethargic. It brought them out of lethargy and gave us a lot of life and gave us and united us, which I give the Vegas Golden Knights a lot of credit. And as a gambler, I try not. I have a lot of affiliations with ball players, which ex-ball players that are retired, great. But I know a lot of the Golden Knights. They're great guys. I am not the biggest hockey guy. I will tell you this: born and raised in New York, I was not a Ranger fan. I was an Islander fan, and I'm happy to see the Islanders win today. as far as this game goes, you have a point. Whoever wins this series, as far as Montreal and Philadelphia, can very well win everything. Obviously, I think that the physicality of these teams are going to be a little tougher for when they down the road, whoever they face in the finals. I think it's a tough game. I'll be honest with you. I think nobody's giving Montreal a real shot here. Well, as far as some of the bettors that I know, they're not giving Montreal a real shot here. And I'm a contrarian, to be honest with you. I made a very, very good living over the last 30 years of gambling in Vegas, of going contrarian. I think it's a tough game. I really do. I think it's a tough game. I'm seeing minus $1.48. Is that about right? I think it's a tough game. 5.5 goals. I think it's a tough game. You're going to see a lot of. I think it's going to be a very physical game. If I had to play this game, I might go under, thinking it's a 2-1 or 3-2 game at an over and under of 5.5. I think as far as the side, it's hard to go against Philly at home. I don't know. I think it's a tough one, Mitch. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not the biggest hockey guy, but just from a sports fan point of view, if I had to bet this game, I might go under, but I'm not in love with the game.
All right. Well, we have just a drop more time. The show is supposed to be 20 minutes. We're at 50, but you know, it happens. You know, we don't have a set time. We're not on, a major network or something. We're on the internet and getting still pretty good action here, but, we'll just do one more game. We'll see if we can squeeze one out of Joe here. Why not?
Let's do it.
We got the Nuggets and the Clippers, and this is kind of another main event type game. Number 2 in the West against number 3 in the West. The Clips are a game up on the Nuggets heading into this one. The Nuggets have a guy on their team that when the chips are on the table, when the biggest lights are shining, when the biggest, baddest opponents are on the other, the Mike Tysons of the NBA are on the other side of the ring, that's when this guy decides, I don't care about the load management anymore.
Okay.
I'm lacing them up and I'm playing. Of course, we're talking about Kawhi. What do you think here with the Clippers laying 5.5 here against the Denver Nuggets? This game, it's obviously in Orlando. Denver considered the home team, and they've always played well at home, but this is no altitude in Orlando. If anything, a lot of humidity.
Tough game. As you said, there's a lot of humidity, and I think it's a tough game. If I had to twist my arm, I'll be honest with you, getting 5.5 points with Denver, who once again, they've got a go-to guy. They're in first place. They are right now, the 3rd seed, I believe, and there's still a few teams that are looking to make the playoffs. I believe they're the 3rd seed. Please don't quote me. They can still better their situation. I think they might even feel insulted being the underdog coming into this game, having they're first in the Northeast. In the Northwest. I think they might even feel insulted being a 5.5 point underdog here. That might be a little bit of motivation factor. I would have to take Denver plus the 5.5 points. To me, I think it's too tough of a game, which tells me I got to lean towards the dog here.
Yeah, I'm on the other side. I like Kawhi in the big games, and it's just, it's okay. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
We'll bet dinner over it. We'll have a fun dinner over it.
Exactly. But anyways, I want to thank everyone that's joined us today. We'll be back. I don't know if we'll do tomorrow or not. Just a little bit shorter card. We can figure it out. I'll talk to Joe. But we're going to start doing a regular show at this time. Joe will be with me, I guess, most of the time. And then, days he can't make it, we'll have somebody else do it. And we'll just do it every day at 6 o'clock Eastern if this is a good time for everybody.
They won't be as good looking as I am, guys, but they'll once in a while we'll have a fill-in.
So what we'll do is we'll say that we'll do 6 o'clock Eastern time. And we'll just have a standing show at this time. We'll figure it out. And you guys, of course, will let us know the stuff you want to hear, the stuff you don't want to hear, and, who you want to see on as guests with us, and we'll just stick them right in the middle. We'll just sandwich them and be the,
Sounds good to me. I want to thank
Sounds like I need to bring the earplugs that day to get blasted by us. But anyways, thanks, Joe.
Mitch, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers out there. Really, keep watching us. You're going to pick up a lot of solid content. You'll make money if you listen to guys like Mitch and myself and the guys at Pick Dogs. And listen, I did not have any plays on the board today because I was not in love with anything. I'm here to give you action. I'm here to give you winners. Tomorrow, there's a few baseball games that have caught my eye pretty darn good. And I will have, Mitch, I already have up a baseball seasonal package on Pick Dogs. I'll have an NBA playoff package up over the weekend, and by this weekend, I'm going to have NFL packages up for the season on Pick Dogs. I'll have a college football package. Hopefully, we do have a season. We'll talk about that down the road.
I meant to ask you about this on one more time. So we're done with the picks. So if you're here for the picks, that's great. But I'm gonna ask Joe after the show, but I'll ask him here instead. So the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC are all saying we're playing this fall. Okay, they're all saying that's it, and we haven't heard from like the Sun Belts and the the Cincinnati conference, right? We haven't heard from those guys, right, at all. We heard from the Mountain West; they're not playing.
Mountain West, the MAC ain't playing.
Right.
Pac-12 ain't playing.
So Coach Day from Ohio State said, we're going to play spring football. They've all said they're going to play in the spring, right? And Coach Day is saying, we want to start January 1st, our season. Is it possible that we get 6 months of college football here? Is this like a dream come true? I mean, I would say pinch me, but I know Joe would actually try and do it through the screen.
I would love to pinch it. You're so cute.
But it's, what exactly, are we going to get from September to December of college football and then January to into March Madness of college football also?
I would love to see this happen. The only thing I'm still a little apprehensive about right now, and I have to be Debbie Downer, is if some of these kids get sick, it is our job as the adults of this country to protect our youth that they might fold the season early. If we get a handle on this health situation, I feel very optimistic about spring football. But as of right now, SEC, ACC, Big 12 are saying we're a go. I am excited about that. It also gives us a little, a lot less stuff to choose from, but a lot less things that we have to look at too. So
but we're gonna, hockey's gonna restart quickly, so we'll just be missing a couple of days here, and we're gonna have some teams, and we're gonna have a smaller schedule. It'll look more like an NFL schedule on a Saturday. In the NFL on Sunday, we'll have Monday Night Football, we'll have Thursday Night Football, and then we're going to have football again. We're going to have 6 months of college football. Everyone's just like people are saying, we had people that were saying, we're not going to see sports, this year. We're not going to see everything. And look this is the best August of sports we've ever had. It's the best August of sports we've ever had.
I want to say, I think sports in general, as a sports bettor, this is how I make my living. All right, and a lot of people. I help a lot of people to benefit to gain a little, to make a little more money and add to the better of their lives. But I think that sports overall, it brings community together. It's a good thing for this country. This country's going through a hard time. I think that rallying around TV with your family, not just from a sports betting point of view, watching a game, rooting for your alma mater, rooting for your favorite baseball team, your basketball team, I think it's going to bring us together. It's going to bring, it's going to break up a lot of the monotony as well, and it's going to raise our spirits. And I think it's a positive thing.
We're going to see some teams play each other inside conferences that don't play each other every single year and play each other a lot. Like Florida and Alabama rarely meet during the regular season, but if it's just the SEC playing within conference, we might see Alabama and Florida, Clemson and Miami rarely play during the regular season. They're already scheduled to play this season. We have a lot of these games like that, and it's just really, really exciting. Joe, we'll see it, if not tomorrow, Thursday. We'll be back, and thanks, everyone, for joining us. First time run-through. We'll have some. We'll format this thing. We'll
format it. We'll have some fun. We'll take some suggestions from.
We'll get Joe some front lighting. And
if anybody wants to see me and Mitch in the same room so I can pinch him live, you let me know.
Well, I don't know when I'm gonna get to Vegas, but hopefully it's soon.
You got it.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.